Imagine how powerful you'd become if all the energy you waste comparing, chasing, and pleasing others was redirected back into yourself. Every dream you have, every skill you want to master, every goal you're chasing, is all waiting for your focus. The truth is simple. The moment you lock in on yourself, you stop losing and start winning. Life isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. When you focus on yourself, you shift from being a spectator of other people's lives to becoming the main character of your own story. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean being selfish. It means being intentional. It means saying no to distractions, no to drama, and no to anything that doesn't serve your growth. When you truly focus inward, your confidence grows, your habits get stronger, your mindset sharpens. You begin to realize that the greatest victories don't come from competing with others, but from leveling up the person you see in the mirror every day. And here's the secret. Success doesn't chase people who are chasing validation. Success follows those who are locked in on their purpose, who put in the quiet work, who understand that self-focus is the fuel for unstoppable growth. A lot of people don't even realize how much energy they give away every single day. Think about it. You wake up in the morning, and before you even touch your goals, before you even look at your plan for the day, you're scrolling through other people's lives. You're measuring yourself against what someone else is doing, what they're wearing, what they're driving, who they're with. And little by little, your focus drifts away from you. That's energy being drained silently. You can't build an empire on scattered energy. You can't win if your attention is always somewhere else. The truth is, you can't control other people. You can't control their opinions, their moves, or their pace. The only thing you control is what you do with your energy. That's why focusing on yourself is the ultimate shift. Once you redirect the same energy you've been wasting on distractions into building your own skills, your own discipline, your own dreams, things start to change. It's like turning on a faucet that was closed all your life. You suddenly realize you've been sitting on a power source the whole time. Let me give you an example. There was a young man who grew up in a tough neighborhood. Every day his mind was consumed with what the next man had. Better sneakers, more followers, more respect. He was chasing shadows. But one day, someone older pulled him aside and said, "If you keep watching others, you'll always stay behind. The only way forward is to watch yourself." That advice clicked. The young man started spending his mornings reading instead of scrolling, started investing in his craft instead of gossiping, and within a year, people were watching him. What happened? He shifted his energy. The people who used to distract him became irrelevant because he was too busy building. Energy is like money. You can spend it on nonsense, or you can invest it into something that multiplies. When you invest it into yourself, the return is massive. You begin to glow differently. You start to carry yourself differently. You talk with more confidence. That's why you'll notice when you really focus on you, you don't even have to chase validation anymore. It finds you. People can't help but respect someone who is locked in on their vision. But this is where most people fall short. They understand energy is powerful, but they don't understand that energy without discipline is wasted potential. It's like owning a fast car but never learning how to drive it. Self-discipline is the steering wheel. Without it, you'll crash every single time. Discipline is not glamorous. It's not something you post about. It's not something that gets applause. Discipline is waking up before the world does. It's putting in reps when nobody's watching. It's saying no to things that might feel good now but destroy your progress later. There's a quote that says, "Suffer the pain of discipline or suffer the pain of regret." The truth is, you choose your suffering. Discipline stings in the moment, but regret will haunt you forever. Think about the athletes you admire, the entrepreneurs you respect, the creators who changed the game. None of them got there by luck. They got there because they mastered themselves before they mastered anything else. They learned how to show up every single day, even when they didn't feel like it. They learned how to push through boredom, how to push through doubt, how to push through criticism. That's discipline. There's a story about a man who wanted to be a boxer. He wasn't the strongest in the gym. He wasn't the fastest, but he was the most disciplined. Every morning while the others were sleeping, he was running. Every night while the others were partying, he was studying tapes. Years went by, and the same guys who laughed at him became his fans. Why? Because discipline turns you into a different animal. It doesn't matter how talented you are. If you don't have discipline, you'll lose to someone who does. The challenge is this: your mind will always try to trick you into comfort. It'll tell you, you've done enough today, when you haven't even scratched the surface. It'll whisper, rest, relax, you deserve it, when you know you haven't earned it yet. That's why discipline isn't just about habits. It's about rewiring your thoughts. You've got to learn how to silence that inner voice that wants to keep you soft. You've got to train yourself to keep pushing even when you don't see results right away. There's a moment in everybody's journey when nothing seems to be moving. You're grinding, but the world isn't clapping yet. You're sacrificing, but no rewards are coming. That's where most people quit. But if you understand discipline, You realize this is the part of the process that builds champions. Pressure builds diamonds. If you quit under pressure, you'll never know your value. Another thing discipline does is create freedom. People think discipline is a cage, but in reality, it's the opposite. Discipline gives you control over your life. If you're disciplined with your money, you're not controlled by debt. If you're disciplined with your time, you're not controlled by distractions. If you're disciplined with your mind, you're not controlled by fear. Discipline is freedom disguised as sacrifice. Look around at people who lack discipline. They may enjoy short bursts of fun, but they're trapped in cycles they can't escape. They wake up late, complain about not having opportunities, and repeat the same patterns. They're slaves to their habits. And then look at someone disciplined. The way they move, the way they think, the way they attract respect. That's not by accident. That's by design. Here's the real test. When nobody is watching, what do? Because that's when your discipline is exposed. Anyone can grind when the cameras are on, when the crowd is cheering. But when it's just you in a quiet room, that's where discipline is built. It's in the lonely hours, the unseen work, the sacrifices nobody thanks you for. That's where winners are made. When you combine energy shift with discipline, you become unstoppable. Redirecting your energy to yourself gives you the fuel, and discipline gives you the engine. Together, they transform your life. Suddenly, distractions feel cheap. Suddenly, excuses feel weak. Suddenly, every day feels like an opportunity to sharpen yourself. There's an old saying, if you can conquer yourself, you can conquer the world. That's the essence of it all. Once you stop scattering your energy on everything outside of you and lock in on yourself with pure discipline, you realize the competition was never out there. The competition was always within. Growth is one of those things that can't be borrowed, can't be faked, and can't be handed down. You can get advice, you can get knowledge, but you can't skip the process of becoming who you're meant to be. Growth is deeply personal. It's the slow grind of turning weaknesses into strengths and pain into power. Too many people want instant success, but they don't want the growth that success demands. They want the fruit without planting the seed. The truth is, your biggest opponent is never another person. It's the version of yourself that refuses to change. That old version of you, the one that procrastinates, makes excuses, blames others, that's the real enemy. And every day you're either feeding that version or starving it. Growth is choosing to starve the old you and feed the new you, one decision at a time. There's a quote that says, don't be afraid of growing slowly, be afraid of standing still. That's real. Standing still feels safe, but it's the most dangerous place to be. Because while you're standing still, life is moving forward. Opportunities pass by, doors close, and the gap between who you are and who you could be gets wider. Growth is uncomfortable, but it's the only way to keep up with life's pace. Let me share a story. There was a young man who wanted to be a musician. He had talent, but he was lazy. He only practiced when he felt like it, only wrote songs when he was inspired. Years went by, and people with half his talent surpassed him. One day, an older man told him talent will open a door, but growth is what keeps you in the room. That advice hit him hard. He started treating his gift like a craft. He studied, practiced daily, and humbled himself to learn from others. Slowly, his music transformed, and so did his life. What changed it? He stopped relying on talent and started committing to growth. Growth isn't just about skills, though. It's about mindset. It's about looking at setbacks as lessons instead of losses. Most people see failure as proof they're not good enough. Growth-minded people see failure as proof they're trying. They know every mistake carries a lesson that strengthens them for the next round. You don't grow by winning every time. You grow by surviving losses and refusing to quit. Think about a tree. It doesn't grow overnight. It goes through seasons. There's rain, there's wind, there's drought, but it keeps pushing roots deeper. You don't even see the growth at first. Then one day, it towers above everything around it. That's how personal growth works. The roots come first, habits, discipline, self-control. The branches and fruit come later, success, recognition, rewards. Everybody wants the branches, but few are willing to do the root work. Now, with growth comes another gift that people underestimate, inner peace. Because when you focus on growing yourself, you stop comparing yourself to everyone else. You stop chasing validation. You stop getting pulled into drama. That's where peace comes in. Inner peace is power. In a world full of noise, distractions, and negativity, peace is rare. Most people live in constant chaos, not because the world is loud, but because their minds are loud. They're replaying old arguments, worrying about things they can't control, chasing approval from people who don't even care. That's why they're exhausted. Peace doesn't come from controlling the outside world. It comes from mastering the inside world. There's a quote that says, "Who conquers himself is greater than he who conquers a city." Think about that. You can have money, status, fame, but if your mind is restless, you're still poor. True wealth is waking up calm, moving with clarity, and not letting outside forces dictate your mood. There's a story of a man who worked in a busy city. He had everything people said he should want. A good job, a nice car, a fancy apartment, but he was miserable. He couldn't sleep at night. He was anxious all the time, and he felt empty. One day he visited his grandmother in the countryside. She lived simply, no luxury, no noise, just peace. She told him, "You've been chasing life, but you've never been living it. Peace is the real success." That visit changed him. He went back and started simplifying his life, cutting out toxic people, spending time in nature, and protecting his energy. For the first time, he felt alive. Peace doesn't mean you stop grinding. It means you grind smarter. It means you don't let stress own you. You don't let jealousy eat at you. You don't let fear stop you. When you're at peace, your moves are clearer because your mind isn't clouded. And here's the thing, peace requires boundaries. You can't keep giving unlimited access to people who drain you and expect to stay calm. Protecting your peace means saying no. Without guilt, it means walking away from arguments that don't matter. It means refusing to let someone else's chaos become your chaos. Peace also comes from alignment. When your actions match your values, you feel lighter. When you live in integrity, you don't carry the weight of lies or pretense. When you're true to yourself, you don't need approval. That's why focusing on yourself is so powerful. It aligns you with your own path instead of trying to walk someone else's. One of the most dangerous traps people fall into is comparison. They look at someone else's chapter 20 while they're on chapter 2, and they start feeling behind. That destroys peace. You have to understand everyone has their own timeline. Flowers don't compete to bloom. They just bloom when it's their time. That's how peace works too. When you trust your timing, you stop rushing and you stop envying. Growth and peace are connected. As you grow, you find more peace, and as you find more peace, you grow even more. It's a cycle. Growth teaches you that you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Peace teaches you that you don't need to fight battles that don't matter together. They make you unstoppable. People think winning is about having the most money, the most fame, the most things. But the real win is waking up every day knowing you're better than you were yesterday and going to bed at night without regret or chaos in your heart. That's growth. That's peace. That's real power. So stop scattering your energy. Stop pouring yourself into people and things that don't build you up. Your time is too valuable. Your potential is too limitless. When you focus on yourself, you elevate. And when you elevate, you win. Focus on yourself and the world will have no choice but to notice.